I don't know what happened to the introduction clip, but basically, I'm just gonna do it here. So, hi, I'm Ayana. Today, I'm going to be talking about best and worst book tropes. I got this idea from my friend Haley from Lipstick and Literature. You should definitely go check her video. I'll leave it down below in the description box, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. So I'm going to be giving examples off the top of my head. I don't know if I'll insert screenshots of the book covers because I do have to edit this video like tonight and get it up tomorrow. So I don't know, I'll do my best. But I have a lot of tropes here. So we're going to get started with the best tropes. So obviously, at the top of the list is rivals to lovers. Not to be confused with enemies to lovers, not to be confused with hate to love. Rivals to lovers is a completely different thing. So I think my best book I want to recommend, it's not really a book, but the Addicted to You series. So Rose is the sister to the main character in the book, and you don't really get to see their romance spark on its own, but they give it very much Dan and Blair. Like Rose a smart, rich, popular it girl, and Connor's like the nerdy, smart mouth boy. Ugh, I love Connor Cobot. So yeah, you get to see their romance spark within the book, but you don't get to see it within the series because by the time it gets to her own, like Rose's book, they're already like the relationship's already developed. But they kind of have that like rivals, academic rivals to lovers. I love academic rivals to lovers. Okay, it's like so genius. So the next trope I have is enemies to lovers. So personally, I think that enemies to lovers can only be fantasy books, because if you're not trying to kill the other person, how are you enemies? Like if you're not trying to suffocate the other person in their sleep, how are you enemies? You feel what I'm saying? So of course I would say The Cruel Prince for this one, because it is the ultimate enemies to lovers. It's the ultimate knife to the throat book, and I think that enemies to lovers is the best trope, but it's also overplayed, because that's why I think it's really important to separate enemies to lovers, hate to love, and rivals to lovers, because a lot of authors will write books, like in romance, they'll write hate to love books, and then the characters don't really hate each other. It's always a misunderstanding. I feel like authors know that like we are really obsessed with enemies to lovers right now, so they really want to dedicate and like, you know, like they really want to like, they're really just trying to appease to what everyone likes, so they're writing these enemies to lovers and hate to love, but it's like they don't really need to have that. The next thing is jealousy. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, oh, I don't like jealousy in real life. Like jealousy in real life is so toxic. I love it. I love jealousy in real life. I love it in books. If there's jealousy in a book, I'm gonna rate it 5 stars just based on that. I'm not even kidding. I love jealousy. It shows that like you care about that other person so much that like you would hate seeing them with someone else, or like you don't want to lose them. And obviously I don't mean like them trying to make the other person jealous on purpose, or I don't mean like there is a point where it does get toxic, but a little bit of jealousy here and there doesn't hurt. And usually I really like when authors use it to push the couples together. Like that is just pure, you're just a genius. So the next trope is found family. I love found family. One of my favorite specific found family tropes is actually when they don't like each other and they end up becoming friends. So Undead Girl Gang will be specific. Like they were not friends in the Undead Girl Gang. Like only they were like, so there's 4 girls and 2 of them were friends separately, and then they all come together and they end up all becoming close. And I really like that aspect of the book. And then for found family, there isn't really a lot of, I mean there is a lot of found family, but especially in like sci-fi, but there's never like found family that really like hits, you know what I'm saying? Right now I'm really reading The Witcher, and that has a good found family aspect. The next trope I have is, I don't know if it's a trope, but it is grumpy men. I love grumpy men. Okay, so The Witcher, I'm reading The Witcher. I love Geralt. He's just a muscular grumpy man, and I eat it up. Okay, like it's just something about, especially when they don't talk, it's just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. Men who don't talk. Ugh. Bully romances. Now, if you know me, you know I love my bully romances. I have to read a bully romance like every once in a while just to make me happier. It's just like, I love it. It's just something, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I guess it's because I grew up with like, well, everyone grew up with like, your parents be like, oh, if a boy hits you, they like you. So it's kind of like stigmatized in my brain, and I know that a guy hitting you does not mean he likes you. And like, I don't like romances where it's like abusive, just a little shove to the locker, just a little trying to ruin your life. But I really like the bully romances where the main character fights back. So one of my favorite bully romances is Boys of Blueberry Prep, Blueberry. Boys of Burberry Prep is about this girl who like gets this scholarship to go to this rich kid school, and they feel like she doesn't belong there, so they're trying to get her out, and the boys are like bullying her and like trying to get her out, and then she like fights back and they actually end up forming a friendship. It's also a reverse harem. Mostly like bully romances because they're typically reverse harems, but it's just something about the person like not knowing how to express how they feel. I don't know. I used to have a crush on like the guys who bullied me in middle school, so maybe it's something I need to like psychologically evaluate in there. I don't know. Love roommate slash neighbors. I don't remember what it was called, but I read this book. I don't even remember the author's name. I think it was by V. Keelan. I don't remember the title of the book, but it was so good. It was about this girl who lived in this apartment building, and she thought that the guy who like lived next door to her was like a complete jerk, and then she ends up finding out that he is her like landlord, and they end up like forming this friendship. And usually I don't care about books where like they form friendships. I don't know, it's like I don't want hate to love, but I need to have it. I love the vampire trope. A lot of people don't really care about the vampire trope, which is definitely understandable. I just love vampires, and I think we need to bring them back. And I think we need to bring trashy teen paranormal romances back, like full blown back, you know, vampires, like all of it. That was an era. I missed that era. I missed it. I will watch like the movies and stuff, but I want to be in that era, you know. Like I love the Vampire Diaries, I love Vampire Academy, I tolerate Twilight, and as much as I hate Stephanie Meyer, she really did start something for us, and I wish we could get back to that. Like, why did we ever stop writing vampire books? We do have like the adult paranormal romances, which I am starting to get to, which I really do. I do enjoy those, but they're never like, you know, they're always a little bit problematic for me. You know what I'm saying? Of gamers, I have only read one gamer book, so I don't know why I put that on the list, but I really liked it. I love gamers in real life, so a lot of these tropes affect things that I like in real life. Of course, duh. The one I read, I'll insert a picture of the one I read. It's like all for the game, or like for the game, or something like that. And it recently became popular on TikTok, and ironically I read it right before it became popular, and I'm trying to be like, I beat the trend, but it's just so funny. And then I also love mafia books. I'm kind of sick of mafia books though right now. I haven't read them almost in a year. No, I haven't read them in a little bit, just because mafia books tend to read the same, and they always have like a weak main character who like doesn't listen to the mafia guy, and then and it's just like, I don't know, I'm just kind of tired of it. I mean, I did read one where it was a strong main character, but it's only so many tropes you can do. It's not even that, it's only so many tropes that mafia romances do. So after a while, they kind of just get sick, you know, you just get sick of reading the same thing. So then I have sports romances, specifically hockey. I finally read the Off-Campus series. I read the first 3 books, and I have read one book in the Briar U series like a few years ago, but I finally read the Off-Campus series, and I am obsessed. Definitely love hockey romances now. I eat them up. And then we have love triangles. Everyone hates, well, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of people hate love triangles. I eat them up. I just love love triangles, especially when you don't know like who the main character is gonna pick. I never really care, because it's like whatever. If they're written really good, they can be really good. Some of them just happen to not be written that good. Then we have best friend's brother, or brother's best friend, and I love this trope. I don't have any recommendations for best friend's brother, surprisingly, but I do have one for brother's best friend, and that one will have to be fixer up. I just love it. Those 2 tropes are some of the tropes I used to read on Wattpad all the time. A lot of my favorite tropes stem from Wattpad, and I think I liked a lot of Wattpad books because there weren't any like rules, and nobody took it too seriously because they weren't published books, so people can make them like as trashy and dramatic as possible, and I would eat it up. But now if I read it in like a regular published romance book and they're like just as trashy, I will be like, I don't know, just because it's like published and it's like I'm buying this now, and it's like I just want something more. But I'm not talking down on Wattpad, because that is my home. That's where I started reading the most. It really helped me out, you know, when I was younger. So a lot of my tropes stem from there. I don't have, but like a lot of authors don't write the same tropes, or they don't write them the same. So maybe one day I'll get these tropes that I like, which is why I'm putting them on my list. or someone can recommend them to me. I have fake dating, which like almost every book right now has fake dating. Like you really can't escape it, can you? I love fake dating, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like what happened with enemies to lovers. Like authors started catching on the fact that we loved enemies to lovers, so they're like, oh, I'm gonna make this. So now they're doing the same thing with fake dating, and I love fake dating, don't get me wrong. Like I'm still gonna read these books. It's just gonna take me more time because every book has fake dating, you know? So then the next book I have is Marriage of Convenience. It's usually when you get married for like both behalf, at least. Fake dating is pretty much usually the same, but I mean getting married, it's kind of a bigger commitment here because, you know, you got a ring on the finger, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I love Marriage of Convenience. One of my favorite fake dating book is always going to be To All the Boys I Loved Before. If you guys know me, you know To All the Boys I Loved Before is like my all-time favorite book. I will never get sick of it. I'm going to be 58 still reading that book 2 times a year. I'm going to have like 3 different copies for my annotations because I love that book so much. So for Marriage and Convenience, I don't think I have a book, but I can't really think of what the book is. Then we have One of the Boys Tropes, which in real life I hate the girls who are like, I'm just one of the boys. I don't like girls. I'm so different from girls. But in books, I eat it up, and that purely stems from what I said earlier. Wattpad books. I used to read One of the Boys Wattpad books. I would read ones where she, like, the main girl would be like a soccer player, where she would be best friends like the player. So it's like, I wish that we could bring like One of the Boys Tropes back, but like make it not annoying. And for One of the Boys, I would say the Poppy War, because I don't know, Poppy just gives me One of the Boys. Poppy, her name is not Poppy, what the hell? Ren really just gives me One of the Boys, you know. And the last one for the best tropes is Teacher Ex Teacher. Now, is this a trope I've read before? No, it is not. Would I like to see it? Yes, I would. I low-key was like thinking of writing a teacher romance, but I don't know, you know. I don't know. I have a really good idea for it, and it's just not that popular. And like maybe there are some recommendations out there, but I think the reason why I like this trope is because of that movie with Cameron Diaz, Bad Teacher, where she ends up like falling in love with one of the teachers in the school, like the coach, and it's just like the English teacher dating the coach. It's just such a classic, you know, such a classic. I love it. And so now we're on to middle. So I don't really like age gaps. Now, will I not read a book because of an age gap? No. I'll still read the book. It really depends on like what the book is about and if I really care for it. Like I'm not gonna let this deter me from reading it. Will I be a bit uncomfortable? Probably so. Single parent. I do not like children in books. Something about children in books really annoys me, but when they're a single parent, I kind of like it. Like nanny books, I love nanny books. A good example of this would be the 3rd book in Fix Her Up, Hate Me or Date Me. I think I just made that. I'm pretty sure I just made that up. But the 3rd book in the Fix Her Up books, that one, he's not a single parent, he's an uncle. He's taking care of his niece, but he kind of acts as though her dad, and I think in the end of the book they take custody of her. I love it. I love that book. I love that. But it depends on what the description says and like what everyone is saying about it, because I don't like children in books. The Chosen One, I just pretty much annoyed of the Chosen One. Like every book in the middle, like I'll still read it, but it just depends on the circumstance. The Chosen One, very overplayed, very boring. But if it's written by a person of color, everything I said doesn't matter. I love Chosen One if it's by a person of color. I eat it up. It's my favorite trope ever. If it's by a non-person of color, I don't care. Fake marriage. Fake marriage and Marriage of Convenience are 2 different things, okay? So fake marriage is usually like the Honeymooners, where they pretend to be married even though they're not. Whereas Marriage of Convenience, I have a book for Marriage of Convenience. Marriage of Convenience, I will have to say The Villain by L.J. Shin. That one is a Marriage of Convenience. That book is a Marriage of Convenience. Most mafia books are Marriage of Conveniences, by the way. But The Villain, we're gonna get onto the worst. So the worst trope is student teacher. I do not read student teacher romances. I absolutely despise those romances. I think it's disgusting. You're playing with your authority. It makes me really uncomfortable. I don't care if it's a college student and a professor. I once read one. I was so uncomfortable. I just DNF'd it. This was a Wattpad book though. back in the day. That was my last straw, and that was like 4 years ago I read that. I do not read student teacher romances. They make me extremely uncomfortable. It's weird. Like Pretty Little Liars, it's weird. It's just weird. Like I have nothing else to say. Musician slash famous, I can't do it. It's like I don't care. I don't know why I don't care, because like I love the famous trope in movies, like Disney Channel movies, like Stuck in the Suburbs or Starstruck. Those are my two favorite DComs, like, of all time. Like, I clearly do like the trope, but it's something about books. I think because the books, it has to be a little bit longer. So because like even with like Starstruck and Stuck in the Suburbs, I get annoyed at a certain part in both of the movies because I'm like, ugh, let's wrap it up. It doesn't need to be this long. So I think with the books, because books have to be like what, 300 plus pages, sometimes I get a little bit bored in books. So I'm like, let's wrap it up. Let's get to the point. Pregnancy trope. I already said I hate kids in books, so pregnancy tropes do nothing for me. Bets. They don't really do bets in like regular like published books, but back in the Wattpad days, oh, I used to love bets back in the Wattpad days. Like the ones where the guy would be like, I bet I could date her. Oh, what they did it in after. And that bet was just absolutely disgusting. That's when I was like, this is a bit weird. But in the regulars, they were like, oh, I bet you can get her to fall in love with you and all this and blah blah blah. And I used to eat it up, and then I read after and I realized how toxic it was. So now I hate the trope. It's like one of my least favorite tropes. Cheating. I hate cheating. I hate cheating in real life. I hate cheating in books. Like, I do not care. Like, I don't care if the cheating is for the purpose of the main character to grow. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of do care, but like if the main character is cheating with the love interest, I hate it. If the love interest is cheating with the main character, I hate it. A good example of this would be Christine's first book. What was it called? Better Together? Better Happy Than That? Better... Is that her second book? What is that name of the book? Whatever, I'll put a picture in. I did not like that book. The book wouldn't have been like, I didn't think the book was like, I did a rant review of it. Again but Better. That was the title of the book. Again but Better. So one of my biggest issues with the book was that the main character not only had a fiance and went back in time to get the crush on this guy that was basically her manic pixie dream boy, but he also had a fiance. So they're both cheating on their partners with each other. I was very uncomfortable. Very. Forbidden love. I don't hate this trope. I just think, I mean, obviously I hate this trope because I put it in a hate list, but like, I would like this trope. I just don't think that forbidden love is written how I want it to be written. Like, nobody has yet to write forbidden love the way that I want them to. Therefore, it's at the bottom of my list now until somebody writes it the way that I want them to. You see what I'm saying?